Hi, this is just going to be a short video, but it is an alert. It is very, very important that people, the British people, understand what is happening in Britain today. This is part of a global fascist takeover. This is serious and we need to make a stand. We all need to get informed. I will leave the links to the proposal for cancelling Article 50 again. Please check the links in there. Please get informed. We all need now to get educated. There's no room now for confusion and clinging on to lies and old judgments. Now, before I get on to the main point of why I've made this short video as an alert, I'm just going to play this.
Was absolutely true. Okay. And in fact, I want to congratulate one of your previous guests. And I'm not an actual politician. Stephen Hammond, I think, is a secret hero for what he did actually. Because back in February, he did tell about the worst case scenario.
He's a former health minister.
And he leads, he wrote about the body bags, and we haven't even talked about the body bags.
Well, remind our audience about the body bags then.
That's, they've stockpiling body bags for the risk of an increased mortality rate and Brexit. Which is why I think those people that support England Brexit need to be aware what level of harm are they willing to accept.
Did you hear that? Stockpiling body bags, that's from the health ministers, and he's asked the question, what level of harm are people prepared to accept for a no-deal Brexit? Stockpiling body bags. I tell you, this is an attack. This whole Brexit agenda is an attack. Now, here we have Gilad Atzmon. He's explaining it all very clearly. Alright, I do somewhat disagree with, his take on the Jews who are standing with us against this Zionism, which they recognise as actually an attack against Judaism itself. I do somewhat disagree there, and I have left a comment explaining why on this site. But the bulk and gist of what he is explaining here is absolute fact and truth, and you need to read it. I will leave you the link to it, okay? But the reason why we need to be aware now is that, look, this is from the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. It's just been announced that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be in London tomorrow, Thursday 5th of September, to meet with Boris Johnson. And they're calling for people to protest outside Downing Street. Let's make it clear that we stand unequivocally with the people of Palestine and against Israel's continued violations of international law and human rights. Join us in sending a clear message that Netanyahu is not welcome here. Well, he is welcome here for people to the likes of Boris Johnson and co. And this is a very disturbing development that Netanyahu, who people like myself who understand, are very well researched, have been researching this stuff for years, we know that the Zionist interests are very heavily invested in this no-deal Brexit and breaking up the EU as a free trade union that upholds all the kinds of laws and principles and rights that the corporations that are beholden to the Zionist banking cabals right now wish to avoid. And the EU, as a united group of independent nations, we do represent a threat concerning the atrocities and crimes they are committing to this very day against the people of Palestine. They've been getting away with it by calling people anti-Semitic for calling out Zionist atrocities. But, that will not wash anymore, because we have millions of Jews, in fact the majority of Jews the world over, stand against the atrocities that these Zionists are committing against Palestinian people. Now, why is he coming to Britain right now to visit Boris Johnson? Well, we know why, because of what's happening in Parliament. And we need to understand this is a threat. This is a threat. When a foreign Prime Minister from a country like Israel that is committing atrocities against the Palestinian people and even their own people who speak out against Zionism are very heavily oppressed. So this isn't just something, what I'm speaking here, this has got nothing to do with Jewish faith. We're talking about far-right extremists who can call themselves Tory or they can call themselves Zionists. Netanyahu is as much a Tory as David Cameron and Theresa May and Boris Johnson and Tommy Robinson are all Zionists. Okay? So the very fact that they can call themselves Zionists tells us that actually, yes, Zionists are the EDL and they are the worst of the Tory party. And this is a very disturbing development that Netanyahu, leader of actually a terrorist regime that is now controlling Israel, is now coming to Britain at a time when Boris Johnson's coup has failed, has been blocked by Parliament, and now Netanyahu's flying over to see Boris Johnson. And we understand, this is why I showed you that clip at the beginning about the body bags, when we understand that this government has tried to, through lies and deception, implement Brexit that will leave over 100,000 dead easily. They've already killed 120,000 with British austerity. Goodness knows how many would be dying with Brexit. And to the extent that they're stockpiling body bags. And then we've got Netanyahu himself coming over to Britain. So we're dealing with a hostile government that was planning to kill British people with yet another policy. They've killed British people with austerity, their evil economic policy, actually economic terrorism, and now they were planning to kill even more with Brexit. And all ultimately for the interests of Israel. That's who stands to profit most. Their banks, their corporations, their agendas. Shutting down the voice of protest, shutting down the voice of reason, shutting down the voice of compassion, shutting down humanity. For us all to be subservient to the corporate boots, basically. And, we have to take this very, very, very seriously. And we understand the influence of Mossad at the moment throughout the world and in Britain, operating covertly, does have connections to Cambridge Analytica and Trump, that Cambridge Analytica helped elect, as Cambridge Analytica employed all its underhand methods and crimes to persuade people in Britain to vote Brexit. We know that Israel and Boris Johnson both employ armies of cyberbots. This is one of the reasons why people like me, I have to close down comments and likes because my videos are so heavily trolled. And no matter how thick-skinned you are, I live with chronic complex PTSD. It doesn't do any good for me to have been waking up every day, comment after comment, calling me all the names under the sun, calling me anti-Semitic, this, that and the other. At the end of the day, I just thought, is it even worth it to have any comments? And so I've blocked them, because why should I even give them a voice? Because with my channel, which is purely for people's own benefit, I don't ask for money or anything except people get informed and stand up for your rights. Because people like myself, there's not just me, there's many people out there, artists, taxi drivers, one who's been informing people regularly with his short videos. Ryan of The Last American Vagabond. There's plenty of people out there and we need to start listening to them. They've been dismissed for too long as, the mad, over the top conspiracy theorists. No, what has just almost happened in Britain is a conspiracy fact. It is not a conspiracy theory. Now, has one of the prime conspirators who was conspiring to damage Britain now arrived in Britain, a foreign power arrived in Britain to talk with this unelected Prime Minister who has conspired to put the British people's lives at risk. You know, this is a very serious matter. Now, is MI5 looking into this? What are the MPs going to be saying about this? Why is Netanyahu coming to Britain now? What are they planning now to get their Brexit? What won't they do to get their Brexit? What won't terrorists do to carry on committing their crimes, to avoid justice, to avoid any challenge to their criminal activities, to carry on enjoying living above the law and according to their supreme supremacist ideology, in which they're human beings and everybody else is cattle. You know, this is what we are talking about. We can no longer allow ourselves to casually dismiss and ignore these things. This is a very serious situation. I mean, to me, according to what I know, okay, it is equivalent to Hitler popping over to Britain to have a word with Mosley. Do you know, seriously, imagine Mosley had got into Parliament and Parliament stood against him, and so Hitler comes across to have a chat with him, to meet up with him. Yes, and you want to look at the at the Mosley organisation, pre-war Britain, and see the amount of followers and support that they had. And yes, you know, if he'd have managed to get into Parliament by hook or by crook, as Boris Johnson, far-right fascist, actually has got into power today, yes, and there was a revolt against him in Parliament, as has happened with Boris Johnson, Hitler would have been coming over to visit him. Okay, we need to understand what we are dealing with here. Netanyahu is a Prime Minister of a country that murders children, steals their lands, ignores international law in exactly the same way that this government has stated they are prepared to ignore the law. Now a Prime Minister of a country whose whole term in office is about ignoring international laws is now coming to talk to the Prime Minister who's leading a government that has pledged, has stated that they're prepared to ignore the law, that is stocking up on body bags. And, you know, what does Netanyahu think of the British people who rose en masse to protest against what's been happening to Palestine? He's got no love for the British people. According to him, we're cattle, and actually we're anti-Israel, according to him. You know, I'm not anti-Israel. I believe that Israel and Palestine, you know, Israel's there now. The good people on both sides can sort it out, just as we've witnessed in Parliament recently. But I tell you, this is very serious, bad, dangerous news, and we all need to be alert to false flag attacks. Who knows what kind of evil they are now planning to try and get their Brexit. And I asked Parliament to be on alert. I asked British intelligence, the civil servants of Britain, you need to now follow your conscience. You're either going to stand with the MPs, the democratic voice of Parliament, or you're going to stand by Boris Johnson and his best friends. And, you know, just look at who his best friends are. So, you know, thank you very much for listening, people. Please share the information. I don't ask you to share this video, but please share the information. Please check the links below, and take courage. Be strong, because the righteous will never fail.